With Jujutsu Kaisen, we've been introduced to a pretty large cast of characters who for the most part are each memorable in their own way. We have the lovable Bumpkin and Yuji, the cold Megumi, the assertive Nobara, and the walking tank known as Gojo. However, even some of the side characters like Todo have left quite the impression on fans. At first, I wasn't the biggest fan of Maki. I personally always preferred Mai over Maki, but with these last few chapters, Maki has been a character that's quickly risen up my ranks as one of my favorite characters, and it's because of the immense potential that the character has. In fact, it is arguably becoming clear that she's the true second coming of Toji. Now, I know that's pretty high praise to put on somebody like Maki, especially when you look at the fact that I'm saying she has the potential to actually surpass Toji. I'm well aware of the fact that Toji was powerful enough that he gave that work to Gojo in battle and was the first person who truly pushed Gojo during a serious fight. The moment that Gojo talked about earlier on in the series, where Gojo stated that the era of new Jujutsu Sorcerers was coming and that there would be likely more than one talent that emerges with the power and talent that gives Gojo a true rush of excitement. That moment is finally coming before our very eyes, and it just so happens to be during a time when Gojo sealed away. We've seen some of these characters too, like Todo and Yuta, especially Yuta because Yuta's already a walking tank, but now we can add Maki to that list. In fact, depending on where you view the events of the last two chapters, you could argue that Maki is already in that tier of special grade Jujutsu Sorcerers, with her clearly showing that she is indeed one of these anomalies that exist in the Jujutsu world. She has superhuman high physical strength, and with how she's been taking down the Zenin clan, including some of the more dangerous members, you could argue that she has the destructive capability and possesses a full power that is closer to that of a special grade level user. The ascension in power for Maki for me is truly heartbreaking, because essentially what we are actually seeing is someone gaining that enormous power at a great personal cost, which for Maki is the loss of her sister's life at the hands of her father. When you get to the panel of Maki essentially saying that she has no heart anymore, it's a sign of the power building up inside of her, and it's a recognition of the cost of what that power actually required. The thing that has really become clear in this very world is that when one gains, one must offer something in exchange. The line where Mai says that the suffering makes people stronger ties into Maki's power increase as well. To live is to survive, but to survive, that's to find meaning in the suffering, and that's what Maki's done with the sacrifice of Mai. For Maki, her sister Mai not only gave her life to bestow upon Maki what she would need to take down the Zenin clan, but the pain that she suffered and endured when losing her sister, her actual twin, also awakened a beast inside of her and started her transformation into Toji 2.0, because like I said before, to live is to suffer, but to survive is to find meaning in the suffering, and Maki's now found the meaning in that suffering as she stares down what remains of the Zenin clan. It's essentially addition by subtraction. Mai told Maki that as long as she exists, Maki won't reach her full potential, which is a sign of her heavenly restriction should get stronger as a result of losing Mai. While heavenly restriction is a binding placed on the body at birth with the trade-off for increased stats, losing Mai, her twin, the one who shares her DNA and who shared her actual soul, which is very important because on a certain level that implies that Maki had a significant amount of cursed power that she had due to Mai, but due to losing her, that caused Maki to actually level up in the process, which made it an equivalent exchange. With Mai no longer holding Maki back and Maki having full access to her power, Maki now has the potential of becoming somebody that actually surpasses Toji. You see this process beginning to start for the latter option because you start seeing Maki going further than Toji went. Maki is actually in the process of destroying the Zenin clan. Now, it was stated that on a whim, Toji allowed the clan to live and function, but in the case of Maki, there is no such leisure extended. She's going to destroy everything, and she has a purpose for doing so. When Naoya fights Maki, he continuously says that Maki isn't Toji, but the truth is that she's well on her way of becoming the evolved version of Toji, and the signs have been there. By Mai giving her life and taking the cursed energy that the two twins shared together to the afterlife with her, which means that the clamps that were placed on Mai's heavily restriction should in theory be released as well, putting her on the path that should be equal to that of Toji. Maki, due to her situation, might not have had a cursed technique, but instead she had the physical stats that were closer to a superhuman level, but due to sharing Mai's soul, she had the small remnants of cursed energy, but she couldn't actually access it. With Mai gone, she's been fully unleashed now. The way she's massacring the Zenin clan using the very sword that Mai made for her is something truly special and heartbreaking. Every time she wields that sword, she's reminded of what great cost that power came with, the sister who will forever be in her mind but will always be out of her reach. That's why this path that Maki's on is so beautiful to me, because we literally see the journey that the character's gone through, and we see in exchange for this powerful item that Maki suffered a great loss, which in turn allows her to cut down the Zenin clan, all while being able to live up to her own full superhuman potential, which is shown when she's literally in the last chapter keeping up with how many frames in a second her enemy is moving. Now that's also very fitting when you look at this, and when you look at the fact that this is the birth of a new Jujutsu Sorcerer that is going to be on this level. It's very fitting because the father that left Maki to die, the first thing he sees when he sees Maki after Mai passes away is that Maki reminds him of Toji. Her first steps away from her dead sister's body were to unleash a level of power that made her father think to equate her with one of the most powerful characters in the series, and the only character who truly gave Gojo an issue in battle. Keep in mind, this is Maki, who is still pretty injured by her own admittance. Heading into the Culling Game, Maki is clearly being set up to be a major player, and it makes sense since we're potentially going to see Gojo unsealed in that period in time as well, which makes for poetic symbolism in my opinion, because Maki might very well have actually surpassed Toji by that point in time, using a level of power that is above the one who pushed Gojo into battle to actually help unseal Gojo is something very symbolic. Gojo being unsealed and having Maki there with Yuji and Yuta and Megumi being right there side by side as a reminder what Gojo stated earlier on in the series, that a new era is coming. However, that's gonna be it for my video on Jujutsu Kaisen today. Do you guys agree with me that we're actually watching the birth of the next great Jujutsu Sorcerer? Let me know down in the comment section below, but as always guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day guys.